The summer I learned to listen to the old house, I was 10. The roof held its own weather, and the boards breathed faintly as if they kept some secret under their skin. It stood above the river road like a patient waiting for old griefs to arrive, and sometimes if the wind turned right, you could swear you heard it sigh. The house did not shout. It whispered in the corners and made a dozen small rooms of wind and memory out of what should have been ordinary daylight. We called it the greenhouse because the ivy pressed close to the paned glass as if to keep us from looking in too hard at what lay beyond the glass. On those long summer days, I would wander through it with a child's curiosity and a girl's reverence, opening doors only to find that they opened back in a way they shouldn't, like a mouth yawning or a chest giving a small, almost human rustle. The kitchen clock would chime a few minutes early, the attic stairs would creak in a rhythm that wasn't mine, and a faint scent of lilac would drift from rooms I knew should be empty. I was not alone in my wonder. My cousin Mara visited with me that first summer, a girl who would borrow my grandmother's shawl and pretend the shawl was a sea to sail through the corridors. Mara's laughter had a way of catching in the throat of the house and then escaping again through the walls, as if the house enjoyed being startled by happiness. We found a small, stubborn ritual in the pantry, a coin left on the sill at dusk, a coin brushed with our fingerprints, as if to remind the house that someone remembered it when the day forgot. Mara and I believed the coin could draw Mara back if she wandered away from the room, from the river, from a world that made a child's heart ache for reasons that only children could understand. The ritual grew with us, or perhaps the house grew around it. The coin's dull shine would catch the last red of the sun and wink in the glass like a single unblinking eye. We would whisper Mara's name into the seams of the house, as if the bricks themselves might carry a message to her. The house never rejected the ritual. It wasn't that it believed in us, it was that it believed in itself. And that belief was enough to keep Mara's presence hovering near the surface of the day, a soft, insistent echo in rooms we would enter with a child's certainty and a grown person's tremor. The year Mara vanished was the year I learned that a house remembers what people forget to tell each other. It was late August, when the river ran low, and the sun made the riverbank look as if it were gilded with loss. Mara and I had found a narrow stair behind the pantry that did not belong to the original plan of the house. It led to a tight little cupboard, the door of which is edged with old brass and a keyhole that wouldn't take a key, as if the house held the key to some memory of its own that did not require a key at all. In the top of that cupboard lay a small trunk carved with a script we could not read, and a latch that refused to open unless you coaxed it with a whispered name you believed would unlock it. We tucked Mara's shawl around the trunk as if it were a cradle holding a fragile secret. We thought we understood the secret, that Mara's disappearance might be explained by a shadow, a storm, a path to the woods that would lead back to her like a thread through a needle. But the house had its own geography of sorrow, a map that did not appear in the daylight. When Mara leaned close to read the carved letters on the trunk, a draft rose from nowhere, and with it came the whisper of a voice that did not belong to any person we knew. It did not threaten, it did not coyly tempt, it simply reminded us of something older than our certainty, older than our fear, and older than our memories. Time can be a grandmother who rocks a cradle and never lets go. The day Mara vanished, the house kept its own counsel. The search we launched that afternoon did not find Mara, But it did find what we did not want to admit: the trunk, slightly ajar, an inexplicable, deliberate misalignment, as if it had been listening to us all along, as if it had been waiting for Mara to forget her own way back, and for us to forget the way to Mara. Our mothers called us home. The day turned to dusk, and the house grew quiet, in a way that is only possible when a place has heard the truth and chosen to pretend it did not hear you at all. After that, Mara's laughter became a distant instrument that could still be heard in the days when the house forgot to forget, and our hands forgot how to keep time from spilling. I did not tell anyone then that the house spoke to me in the quiet hours when the world slept. I simply learned to listen better, as one learns to hear the difference between rain and the roof's memory of rain. The coin on the sill became a memory, then a duty, then a habit. The habit grew heavy, as habits do, with the weight of small truths one does not want to carry but cannot lay down. The old house tolerated my small sins as if it had once borne the sins of others its walls refused to tell me about. As the years wore on, the greenhouse aged with me. The lilac scent grew steadier, the creak of the stairs deeper, the room's corners more patient with a person who had learned to live with his own regrets. I did not realize how much the house had become a mirror for me until I left to find work in a city far away, and Mara stayed behind with it. A memory that the house kept polished. Not a friend left behind, but a memory the house was not willing to release. It is easy to leave a place and pretend memory is a matter of distance. It is harder to leave a place and realize the memory has left you, hitching its breath to your own, until you are no longer certain which one of you is haunted. I returned to the greenhouse in my old age, when the world's aches fitted me as neatly as the old shawl Mara once wore. The river still hummed, the ivy still clawed against the glass, and the house still looked at me with a patient face, almost amused calm. I expected silence, the way you expect a negligent verdict after a lifetime of waiting for one. But what I found was not silence, but a long, careful listening that did not belong to a human mouth. The house did not speak to me in words, but in the way a memory speaks to a person who has learned to listen. A careful letting go of something the ear is not yet trained to hear. I walked through the rooms as if for the first time, with the after-image of a child's curiosity in my chest. The trunk behind the pantry was there, as if it had never left, its brass latch slightly tarnished, the wood bearing a lettered scent of old beeswax and dried lavender. Mara's shawl lay across